Welcome to Swanzey Then and Now. And today's guest is Lee Dunham. I'm Jody Turner, and we are going to talk a little bit about the Civilian Conservation Corps today. But let me talk a little bit about how this all started and why we had it. And what the heck is a civilian corps anyway, Lee? I'm going to read a little bit about what a civilian corps, conservation corps is and how it was developed. So hold on.
I'll hold.
Okay, all right. So the Civilian Conservation Corps was a public work relief program that operated from 1933 to 1942 in the United States for the unemployed, unmarried men. Originally for young men 18 to 25, it was eventually expanded to ages 17 to 28. The CCC was a major part of President Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal. That provided unskilled manual labor jobs related to the conservation and development of natural resources in rural lands owned by federal, state, and local governments. The CCC was designed to provide jobs for young men and to relieve families, because this is during the Depression, who had difficulty finding jobs again during the Great Depression. Maximum enrollment at any one time was 300,000 men. Through the course of its 9 years in operation, 3 million young men participated in the CCC, which provided them with shelter, and get this, clothing and food, together with a wage of $30 per month, which would average out to about $570 per month in 2017. And of that $30, $25 had to be sent home to their families. So they got $5 at the time. So, I mean, I'm sure that that was enough, but we'll talk about that a little bit more. Okay, sources written at the time claimed an individual's enrollment in the CCC led to improved physical condition, heightened morale, the increased employability. The CCC also led to a greater public awareness and appreciation of the outdoors and the nation's natural resources, and the continued need for a carefully planned, comprehensive national program for the protection of and development of natural resources. And here's a little quote, I believe, from Franklin D. Roosevelt. I propose to create the CCC to be used in complex work, not interfering with normal employment and confining itself to forestry, the prevention of soil erosion, flood control, and similar projects. I call your attention to the fact that this type of work is of definite practical value, not only through the prevention of great present financial losses, but also as means of creating future national wealth.
Which it did.
Pretty awesome.
It did.
Yeah.
It was one of the most popular things that FDR did.
Yeah. I mean, he did a lot. That was a time, I think, in our history where people were starting to think about the future. And we needed things done. But also the fact that we could have state parks and we could have things for the future for our kids and for future generations. So this all happened in Swanzey in around 1938, 1939, but the program started in 1933.
Yes, and I think the company that we're going to talk about, the 1146, they started in 1935 up north near Pittsburgh.
Oh, yes. So. Yep. Yep. Okay, so you have a map of the areas of the state that had the CCCs in it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's take a look. It's hard to read, but it does have numbers 1, 2, and 3 from right to left.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, and I think 4 is down below.
Okay.
Those are the different corps.
Yeah.
And what New Hampshire, I think, is in the second corps. But you see the different camps all over New Hampshire, all over Vermont, into Maine, down south into Massachusetts. They all had different things that they were doing. A lot of them did buildings at the state parks that we have now, or the federal parks.
Right.
Mount Greylock, the building at the top of Mount Greylock, that was built by the CCC.
And a lot of, like you were saying, a lot of the state parks, like Bear Brook State Park, I remember them mentioning that. So a lot of the state parks had their buildings. I mean, when you look at them, a lot of those buildings that you see are really old.
Yep. They were built in the 30s with the CCC.
Yep.
Now, I've been out to Iowa. I've got a friend out there that's in the Division of Natural Resources, and he lives near one of the state parks. Those were all built 30s, same thing.
Funny how things happen.
CCC was doing it out there.
Yep.
So
Everything happens for a reason.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So we actually had barracks that were in Swanzey.
Yes,
in
we
West
did.
Swansea.
That was news to me as I grew up, and all of a sudden somebody said something about, you know the CCC camp. It's like, no.
Right.
What?
There was a lot of kids camps,
What?
but what's the CCC camp?
What was the CCC camp?
Right.
Well, we had a CCC camp at the end of Spring Street in West Swansea.
So for people that don't know where Spring Street is in West Swansea, if you go where the Thompson Bridge is
Yep.
and go up the hill to where the fire station is,
Right.
take a left.
Take a left right across from the fire station is Spring Street. And at the end of that, a lot of people would remember a farm being out there. LaBelle's actually had a farm out there. And, but that's afterwards, you know, the CCC camp was there before that.
So it's sort of where the campground is now.
Well, just before where the campground
Okay,
is.
all right. So it doesn't have anything to do with the property where the
No.
campground is then?
No.
Okay. So
It's-
that would be sort of near the recycling center?
Yep.
Okay,
Or behind. It's actually behind where the highway department
right.
building is.
Yep,
So.
yep. Interesting. Is there a house out there?
There is a house or two now.
I just wondered. When I go to the recycling center, I always look down there. I'm like, what? They always have something across there. But anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so they had barracks. Did we take a look at the barracks? Let's take a look at those.
That is a picture of the barracks. That is taken, it looks like it's up high, right? There was water tower.
Oh, right.
So that's taken from the water tower,
Uh-huh.
looking down at the barracks.
And would the boys have built the barracks as well? Or military maybe came in?
If these particular ones didn't, then a group before them would have, because they built all things themselves. If there wasn't wooden barracks there, they would live in tents until there were.
Right.
So.
Okay. So remember again that we had the hurricane of 1938.
Yeah.
So.
And that's why we have the CCC
right,
camp.
Right.
This particular group, the 1146 company, was up north, and they built a road that goes from Pittsburgh up through by the Connecticut Lakes and goes into the border to Canada, and met up with a group from Canada working their way down. Once they were done with that, we had the hurricane in '38.
Just happened.
And now there's this great need.
Right.
I mean, there's so much wood down
Right.
everywhere.
So many trees had fallen, like everywhere.
And what the problem with all this wood down is, as it dries out, forest fires could be a big problem. So what they were sent down here in 1939, the 1146, with a new mission, and that mission was the reduction in forest fire hazard. Get rid of the trees.
Right.
You know, get rid of the brush, the slash, everything that was down in the woods. Because you saw the pictures of the hurricane of '38 that we just did the show on. You know, we cut out this path to drive down.
Right.
We still had logs on either
Everywhere.
side and brush on either
Right.
side of the road.
Yeah. Fire.
That's one thing.
Potential
but
fires
then you
everywhere.
had all the stuff down in the woods.
Yeah, and all the pine's going to dry up, and then you get a hot summer. This happened in September, so there was still time for the weather to turn a little bit.
So that's what these guys did. Now, well, I think we'll have a few pictures that show how they did it, because today we think of, oh, we went out and we cut brush, let's get the chainsaw.
Right.
No.
Crosscut?
Let's get the crosscut, two-man crosscut saw.
I'm right there.
Let's get the axe. You know, that's how they did it.
Yeah.
And put them on these 1930s trucks, which don't carry as much as what we'd like to think.
Right.
So
Yeah. Well, everything was done manually back then, and so really everybody had the potential to have a job.
Yeah.
You know, and especially with this program coming in, that was so great for these young men again to have skills after they left
well,
all
you
this.
think about the CCC, and it did. One thing is put the young folks to work, and you know, if you have a job and you have something to do, you feel better about yourself. But the other thing it did is the parents of them had money coming in.
Right.
Even though they may not be able to get a job, they had money coming in, and their sons were getting educated.
Right.
Because they not only did work, but they had education for them. If they didn't know how to read and write, they taught them how to. So it was a really good program. It was like going to technical college back in the 30s is what it was.
Yeah, I just think that it's such a great thing. Now, let's see. We have a few more pictures of some of the barracks. And so, I mean, it doesn't look that bad.
That's what she looked like
This is where they'd wash up, I'm sure. Like, must have been the wash house, bathroom,
like
whatever.
And you see the wood stove.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny when you look at some of the places that they put wood stoves and how dangerous some of these were. It's no wonder these buildings burned down.
We'll show you one later that didn't work so well.
All right, and then we have where they slept. So that's another one. There's a wood stove right in the middle. I'm sure that thing did not heat that place.
Well, the guy next to it might be one.
Right, yeah, but the guy at the end, oh my God. Yeah, but this was, I mean, it was probably set up sort of military.
Yes, it was. I don't know if I want to call it
civilian military,
paramilitary, but your
there's 3 wood stoves.
There's three
wood stoves there.
Oh yeah.
We've just been notified that there are 3 wood stoves there. Okay, but still, I still don't think it was probably that warm. But anyway, okay, keep going.
But your leaders came from the military.
Right.
And so that's how it worked. And then they hired some foresters and stuff to work with the forestry stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So all of the people that participated, here's not all the people there, but there's a group, like the camaraderie that these guys must have had. Again, it must have been like going to college because you got to meet all these guys and it was, or being in the military, whatever, you got to meet all these guys, you got a certification that you participated in the program. You must have felt great. Like if you guys know of anybody that has participated in any of these programs or you have photographs, just like this or any other show, it's really interesting for me and I think for Lee too, to see these things because we didn't even know some of these things existed. And then when you start going through photographs.
I had just heard stories about the CCC camp and then I finally asked around and I finally got a picture of it.
Right.
It's like, wow.
Yeah, and I find Wikipedia as a great source, as well as the Mount Caesar Library. They have a lot of information. If any of you guys are looking for information on history of Swanzey, or you have a relative that you're trying to look into, they've got all kinds of stuff there. So please keep them in mind too. Okay, let's continue on. I think that we have a picture of a store.
Yes.
The camp store there. They probably had cigarettes, that's for sure. Candy.
Lucky Strikes.
Yeah. No filters for me, man. Yeah. Okay. Then back to work.
Now this would probably not be here in Swanzey, but they're probably constructing a road.
Right.
I've seen the motor pool because just like a military operation, they would have a motor pool, somebody in charge of that. But the pictures that I've seen, just so endless amount of trucks, an ambulance in case somebody got hurt.
Right.
They had an ambulance to bring them. So.
Yep. Yeah. And then trucking, wood.
Yeah, there you
go. I mean, they had
That's
to make roads, I'm sure, in some cases because a lot of the trees that fell down, they probably blocked, a lot of different areas as well. So yeah, a lot of manual work. I mean, look at these trucks. They look huge, but they probably didn't carry a whole lot. And then we have some of the guys. I don't know what they would have been doing there. Maybe for water, for...
That looks like a hose.
Yeah, so we're drinking or whatever. And I don't...
There they are. That's a picture that I put in there. That's them loading up to head off to go to work.
Oh,
so
yeah.
They would have loaded up in the back of the trucks. Remember the
this
scenes
must
of the
have been
Army
so much
soldiers?
Fun. Seriously, I would love to do this kind of thing.
Same idea. I mean, they took off to go off to like Swanzey Lake
right.
or
this
wherever
is like
they were
summer
working.
camp for big boys, and you got paid to do it. I think that would be a lot of fun myself, to be able to go out and cut wood and feel like you were doing something, and then they pay you a little bit and they feed you and they give you a place to live. Seriously, it's like summer camp. I just think that these are just wonderful. Okay, tell me a little bit about these photographs.
This one's kind of hard to see for us here, so I don't know how well you're seeing it. But these are the camp, the leaders of the camp itself.
Yeah.
Norman Gomes, I think was his name.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably will get it wrong. If you look, if you can see what it says there, it's spelled wrong in the booklet. He was actually still alive. Charlie Hanrahan, our esteemed creator of the
Swanzey
museum,
resident. Yes.
actually had communication with Norman, and that's where that booklet comes from.
Wow.
You know, everyone that was in the camp got one of those booklets, and in the back there was a place for autographs, just like a yearbook you would have for high school. So.
That is so great. You know, I feel so, I love learning about these things, and things that I never knew that happened in Swanzey. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there's a group photo.
That's a group of them. I can't tell you any more about them, other than they're all in their uniforms.
Right. So they had uniforms to do this too?
Well, they had work clothes.
Right.
And then you have some of them that actually have, you know, military uniforms, it looks like. But they do have some sort of uniform, because there's a farewell parade picture when they left in Keene. So I'd like to hear somebody that was at that.
Right, right. And there's got to be people out there that have pictures. You know, I mean, they've got these pictures, so there's got to be somebody else that was taking photographs at the time. So, yeah. So just look in your grandma's chest. Okay, so a couple of guys got all that wood cut.
Yep.
They're going to have memories for the rest of their lives.
They're having a good day.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, they got food on the table. This is the Depression.
Yeah.
They have food on the table. They're doing okay. I think, you know, this was a really great program. All right, and besides that, they get to play baseball, softball, baseball, probably.
Did you know that, you know, like West Swansea had a baseball team? I think there was actually one for Homestead Woolen Mill. East Swansea had a baseball team.
Yeah.
So the CCC camp had a baseball team. Everybody seemed to have.
Yeah, well, it was fun to do. I have to say, this is the program from another show for the 200th anniversary.
Yes.
But they had a baseball game.
They had a baseball game like that, yes.
At the West Street grounds in West Swansea, the Philadelphia Colored Giants versus the Winchester Athletic Association. Like, I mean, that's what they did. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that was good, clean fun.
Yeah, and that ball game, I've read the reports of it. That was a very interesting game.
That was just one game? Oh, this game from that.
From
yes.
the 200.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in another show. Yeah. And then, you know, we're back to the Civilian Conservation Corps. So, you know, there's been a lot of programs throughout the history of the United States. And, you know, some of them are local now. I'm very happy to see programs like these when it encourages people to get out and make their lives better.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if all of these boys came from the Swansea area.
I don't know how many. I'd be interested to know if any did.
Right.
Because, you know, during the Depression, if you had a farm and you had a way to grow food,
right, in which we did have a lot of farms.
You weren't really that bad off.
Right.
But those in the cities and stuff, they had their tough times. The other story about the CCC that came up with Wickham Hall, you know, as you know, I'm on the Wickham Hall committee.
Right.
And we asked for memories. And you think back, these are 18 to 25-year-old males, right? They're all single. Wickham Hall, of course, was built in 1916. So once it's built, it is the graduation point for every 8th grade child from West Swansea.
Right.
Until Monadnock's built.
Right.
So they would have the graduations there. And guess what? The CCC guys would go to the graduations, and they'd be up in the balcony in Wickham Hall.
Yeah.
And this comes from a lady that we met at one of the first chicken barbecues, I think it was. And she came in, she said, "Oh, I have memories of this place." And she says, "I was an 8th grader." And she had to give a speech I don't know if she was valedictorian or what, but she had to give a speech on stage at Wickham Hall. And she said, all these young men were up in the balcony. I was nervous. It's like, it's kind of neat to hear those stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, because these were eligible bachelors.
Right.
Yes,
and they made
I mean,
$5.
8th grade's a little young, but, you know.
Yeah.
So,
no, but kids were starting to think about those kinds of things. Yeah. Yeah. You know, again, something just popped into my head and popped out. But I'm just so happy to see some of the memories that people have. And I'm sure that there's got to be more people out there that have stories to tell.
Oh, I'm sure there is too.
Yeah. And
trying to find
right.
them.
Now, do you guys do the chicken barbecue any longer?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Every
so
year.
when is it? In August, is it?
In August.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a chicken barbecue at the Wickham Hall in August. I would be happy to interview people if they want to come to the chicken barbecue and tell stories. I did that a couple of years ago, and I know I've got the footage, but I just haven't had a chance to edit it yet. So it will be at some point used. But I remember there was somebody talking about, you know, growing up. I remember what I was going to say. I think what people forget is that when we get older, that we were actually young one time. You know, that we were actually in elementary school, and like in your case, you went to which schools?
I went to Mount Caesar. To me, normal is you went 3 grades at Mount Caesar, 3 grades at Cutler.
Right.
And then you went to Monadnock.
Yeah.
But that's toward the end of our school system.
Right. But you were young once.
Go back before, you know, Monadnock was built, and now you had the community schools, and people did 8th grades.
Right.
And then they went to Keene High.
Yeah.
So to me, to learn that whole progression of how the schools changed was really kind of neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, think about it. You know, like when we were in our teens, what did we think about our grandparents? We thought they were just old. You know, we didn't appreciate at that time all the information that they had to share and all the experience that they had.
My talk to younger people.
Are you going to do the old homestead?
My talk to younger people is just this. I am one of those. Don't be like me. I had a great-grandfather who lived to be 105. He was pretty cognizant until he was 101, 102. So, a man who was born in the centennial of our nation lived past the bicentennial of our nation. And I didn't talk to him as much as I should have about what was life like when he was a boy. Yeah. I know from reading some articles about him, because as he got old, you know, they do an article every once in a while about him. Right. The younger generation wasn't worth anything.
We all go through that anyway.
But he was one that, you know, when I first knew him, he was retired and driving a Cadillac. So
yeah, I know. You know, and we make assumptions because we just assume that this is the way it's always been. Yeah. So anyway, I just want to read something that I found in the 200th anniversary. I read it on a previous show, but I think I'd like to read it on most of our shows from now on. So just bear with me. Okay. I like to live in a town where the trees meet over the street, and you wave your hand and say hello to everyone you meet. For the life is interwoven with the friends you learn to know, and you feel their joys and sorrows as they daily come and go. Gonna cry? So I'm glad to live in a little town, and I care no more to roam, for every house in a little town is more than a house, it's a home. And you know, that's how I feel about Swanzey now that I've lived here for almost 10 years. I feel like Swanzey just is where we're supposed to be. So thank you for joining me today, Lee. Thank you. We've got more shows to come. Hope you'll join us and talk a little bit more about things with your grandparents and your family. We'll see you again.